Hi, you are watching SightsIn Plus, and this is Romesh Shivas. Please do subscribe the channel for the HR news, for HR updates, and conversation with the top notch HRs. Today, we are going to discuss about the workplace happiness. Actually, whatever the position you hold in organization, whatever the responsibilities you carry, or whatever the position you hold in hierarchy in the organization, everyone from entry level to top management, the ultimate goal of everyone is to be a happy person first. And as far as the happy employee is concerned, so that is at the intersection of employee engagement and satisfaction. And of course, the happy employees, they are more engaged with the organization, they are more productive, they are more innovative. To understand in detail that what is workplace happiness and how the leaders can foster the workplace happiness, today we have two senior panelists. Let me introduce Ms. Gauri Das. Gauri is Senior Vice President Human Resources at India Factory and Finance Solutions Private Limited. And Mr. Sriram S. He is Chief Happiness Expert at Our Happiness Matters. So, Sriram, first I would like to come to you and please help us to understand that what is happiness and especially the happiness at workplace.
So let me start with a slightly broader context because it has many dimensions. And what we typically understand as happiness is more what is called as hedonic happiness, where we are actually pursuing pleasure. Now, pleasure does make us happy. And the issue with that, though, is that it doesn't last. It's more of an up and down. It spikes you up and crashes you. It's almost like a sugar crash, right? Go up, come down, go up, come down. And you're constantly chasing that as a thing. So then after a point in life, you realize that, okay, I've been chasing and now I'm not really, kind of having a sustained state where I would like to be happy. So now what do I do? And that is when actually people start looking for slightly deeper meaning and things like that. So that is the second part, which is called as eudaimonic happiness, which is a term, defined by Aristotle almost 2000 years ago. And that has some components to it. One of the components is, first is that you express your best self, which is really about how do you get your strengths, your purpose to be at play. First, bring your best self to the fore. The second is to become a better human being. All of us have the need and the one of our purposes also to evolve and grow as human beings. And lastly, it is to live a full life where all dimensions of your life are reasonably balanced. If you're able to do these things, which is live your purpose through expressing your strengths, evolve as a better human being, and live a fuller life, whereas all dimensions of your life are reasonably balanced, then you reach what I defined as a state called contented aliveness, where you're content with where you are, who you are, what you have, and yet you're alive to live, to live for the present, where anything that life throws at you, you're alive to and deal with it. So contented aliveness is where I think it comes, and these are some of the dimensions of what it kind of entails.
Yeah, Sriram, I think very beautifully you have described about the happiness. And Gauri, I would like to know your initial comments on this and what to make employees happy at the workplace.
Thanks, Ramesh, and thanks, Sriram. You described it beautifully. Really love the definition that you have given. So, pretty similar to what is said. For me, happiness has a different definition for each and every individual because it cannot be defined in terms of money or relationship or status or whatever. Just like Sriram said, multiple dimensions of life, and in those dimensions, I may have a preference for one thing, but I may not be very much inclined towards another. So it's like, who am I and what do I prefer? And that's why we are talking about creating as many numbers of policies, as many numbers of employees are there, because it's very, very customized and it's different for everyone. So for me, workplace happiness, if I have to say, in one word, I would say respect. That's a common theme across the organization. And respect is a very big word because it encompasses n number of dimensions, n number of things. So yeah, this is how I would define happiness at work. If I'm respected, I should feel happy, but not only one dimension. It has a lot to do with so many other things.
Yeah. Sriram, before we go a little deeper and start a conversation on workplace culture and all, I would like to understand that how to find the happiness within yourself as an individual. That is very important.
I think as an individual, for me, happiness is about learning to actually use your day, which is that your happiness doesn't come eventually. It comes by when you become happier today and you learn to become happier tomorrow and the day after. So it is a journey where you learn to internally become a better person, become happier every day. So first component of that is that you make your day the target for your happiness. Start with, how alive, what percentage of the day am I truly alive? And increase that percentage. As you increase that percentage, you become happier. Now, how to increase that percentage is the big question, right? Now, the critical part of that is I found through all my research is that you have to focus on your daily habits. It starts with your sleep, and then it goes to your morning routine. It goes to how you're able to manage your attention and your focus and your flow, and how you deal with people during your day, how you end your day. All of those components come into play, and it is centered around happiness habits. Habits are the key to make you happier, because at some level you have understanding of what it is that I want, what makes me happy, and all that. But with these practices, you practice gratitude. Suddenly, the fact is that you don't need big things to make you happy. A small thing can make you happy, because now you realize that you're not taking things for granted. So that is how these practices evolve you to become more alive during the day. So focus on the day, invest in happiness habits, and with that process, your understanding also deepens. And so it's like a thing. Your understanding deepens, then you do more practices, and then again, it's like an ongoing journey, where you peel one level of the onion, another level opens up. So it's like a never-ending kind of a piece.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And very good example of onion. Gauri, would like to add here something?
So, happiness from within, definitely the first thing would be gratitude. Because we always take things for granted, and it's a universal truth. So, n number of people would repeat the same thing, Sriram. Gratitude, definitely, because when I started my personal experience, when I started gratitude meditation, after 30 days or after 2 months, the perspective towards life changed. Whatever I was getting, I was like, this is so much that I get. And you feel happy with whatever you are doing. So this one I have personally experienced, and it does magic in your life. The calmness that you get because of this thing, because you are never irritated and you are never thinking that I have been done injustice, or I have not been offered certain things from life, because you are always in process of gratitude and you are always thinking that a lot has been offered to me. So gratitude is one mantra, definitely. Second is evaluating what are your priorities or what makes you happy at workplace, at home, because we are not two different people at workplace and at home. It's just that we wear a mask at workplace. We cannot be, so far we cannot be 100% whole at workplace, so we do wear a mask, but that doesn't mean that we change characters. So we need to evaluate, because one problem at one end may end up spoiling both. So that is another thing, understanding your priorities, understanding what do you really want to do, and so that you can align things both at home and at work. All the time it may not be possible immediately, but love whatever you are doing currently, give your 100% to things. Third thing is focusing on intrinsic things. So whatever is within your control, try focusing on that. Don't focus on what is beyond your control, because if you continue to focus on what is beyond your control, you would always be a victim.
Yeah, Shiram, now I would like to move towards the process and how we can improve the employee happiness in organization as an HR leader, as an happiness officer.
See, I think as a HR leader, right, that the first thing is that happiness has to be prioritized and become a focus area. I think that's the critical missing piece today, which is that sometimes it is seen as an optional thing where, we can, it's a higher stuff where we can wait, but it's not. It's actually one of the things that is going to get you what you're looking for: your engagement, your loyalty, your retention, even productivity, and eventually profitability. All of it is going to come from your focus on making employees happy. So the question is, how do you make them happier? And that is a much bigger kind of thing. And I feel that we have not invested in tapping into emotions and feelings of employees. Yes, there are policies, there are processes, and there are tools and resources and things like that. But the key missing piece is that, there is well-being also, but well-being is all about, a lot of it is about entertainment, and some of it is about, after I have a problem, you direct me somewhere, right, as a thing, or you have a party and things. All of those are very temporary. They are not going to make somebody happier in the longer term. Happiness needs a far bigger focus and strategy. And that strategy has to first start with leaders, becoming better human beings and treating people better. That is the first key, which is, how do I become more human-centered? How do I become more human first? Because in the end, we're all human beings. That is the ultimate, kind of purpose. There is, everything else is just, is a mindset. It's a construct. Everything, we are basically at the core of it. We're all human beings, and we have to make human, come first. That's the first piece. And if leaders and the culture can, actually bring in those elements of human first. And when I say human first, I'm talking about trust, I'm talking about autonomy, I'm talking about respect, fairness, flexibility, connections, all those things have to really get prioritized at the workplace. Second is that we have to teach. We have to teach leaders, we have to teach managers, we have to teach individuals to become happier. They are not, because we assume that, okay, we will give them something and they'll become happy. For a fact that, I have data actually, which says that if somebody gets promoted, the happiness doesn't last for more than maybe a couple of weeks. For something that they worked for years, they get it, and after 2 weeks, it's kind of gone. In that 2 weeks also, it's because they're giving some party to somebody and somebody keeps reminding them or congratulating them. After that, it's forgotten. But the reverse is, if you don't get promoted, then you remember it till the time that you get promoted. You're unhappy every day, right? So happiness as a concept actually doesn't last. It is just a kind of, thing that, okay, I will give you money or I will give you a promotion. Those are things which are required, but those are not things which are going to make people happier. What is going to make people happier is this: that treat them well, make them human first, allow them to actually grow, kind of give them the flexibility and the avenue to be themselves, allow them to express themselves, and teach. Actually, we have to teach people how to be happy. And those are the, kind of components that have to come into the workplace, which are still, I feel that there is a lot to be done in that space.
Yeah, I think very beautifully you have explained about this, and especially the example of promotion you shared with us. And I think this is the reason. That's why we say that happiness is not a destination; it's a process, it's a journey. So, Gauri, the workplace culture, the workplace, positive workplace, that plays a very important role when we talk about the employee happiness. So, how do you boost the employee happiness in your organization?
This is a very pertinent question because a large part of our audience comes from HR fraternity, and it is a critical thing for them what to do and what not to do also. So when it comes to happiness at workplace, it has to do a lot with manager. Though I don't now agree that people leave jobs for managers. A recent report, if you look at the LinkedIn report, the priority of manager is at fifth or sixth place. So it's no more a manager who is playing everything with employee, but the day-to-day interaction is mostly with the manager. So if HR professional have to take a step, then they have to evaluate the managerial or leadership skills of the person who is leading the team. Because within the organization, you would see with same infrastructure, with same everything, certain teams would be super happy and certain teams would be dealing with absolutely high attrition. And why does it happen? Because one factor is within the team and another factor is manager. So any action, there are a lot of other things, initiatives that we keep doing. These are definitely feel good and they do add. So evaluating that, getting those feedback and working on that, coaching managers, because if so today only I was conducting an interview and I definitely asked everyone what kind of manager you're looking for and what are the top 3 qualities that your manager should have, or what are first 3 things that you have seen in one of the managers you have worked with. And the mostly the response is like, if they don't support us, if they shout at us. So those kind of things are known through HR. It's just that they need to take action and they need to talk to this manager, put him or her in coaching, or give them this understanding that things are changing. I think it's all about the changing work culture, the changing workplaces. 10 years ago, we were not talking about happiness, right? Happiness has come into picture mostly post COVID, but I would say 5 years is the time frame when we started talking about emotions, started talking about happiness. It is very difficult for a person at 60 age to deal with a person who is 18. So I do have some interns in my team who are 18 years old, and it's like I'm talking to a kiddo with them. So you will have to definitely work on managers. That is one thing. Second aspect of it would be trust factor, which is very important in the organization, and it comes from leadership, how they are leading with example. So when you say we are very much for your happiness, and you say that we are open to this and that, and then you say my son is not well but I'm still not taking a leave, you are not leading by example. Because if my son or daughter is not well and I am not able to be with them, I am not happy, because I need to set my priorities right and I need to give my 100% everywhere to whatever possible extent. So leading by example, leading by values would be another thing. And definitely the third thing would be bringing in those initiatives. But no matter what, I strongly believe that until the connection between manager and within the team is not good, no matter what you do, it is not going to be a good sign. And for managers, it's very important that they take care of this. Otherwise, they are only going to see huge attrition. Because the lines that I remember now is जिसकी मस्ती जिंदा है उसकी हस्ती जिंदा है, वरना वो जबरदस्ती जिंदा है. And nobody wants to be जबरदस्ती जिंदा today, because people have understood their priorities. People have understood work does not take away their happiness. Work aids into their happiness. So that is what I would say in terms of work culture, what actions we can take.
Yeah, absolutely, Gauri. Shriram, I think everyone in the organization, their intention is to perform the best, and also they want to grow in organization. So how do you see these growth opportunities, maybe some material offering like compensation, like reward recognition, like some flexible working hour, like these things, how these things play a role when we talk about the workplace happiness?
I'll just take a step back. I'll answer your question also, but let's just look at this whole thing of what makes an employee happy. Okay, and I feel that there are 4 dimensions to it. One is the dimension of pleasure. What gives the employee pleasure? What gives them pleasure? They get pleasure from promotion, from compensation, from recognition, from benefits. So all of that is in the firmly sitting in the pleasure thing, which has to be taken care of, because there is comparative misery. If I don't get it, I'm unhappy. If I get it, it temporarily spikes me, right? So that is first element. Second is what I call as purposeful growth, where I want to do meaningful work, where I feel that, I am being challenged and I'm also contributing and growing. Okay, that's the second element. Okay, which is the third is more about being validated as a human being, which is all the elements of treatment of human first, which is appreciation, respect, fairness, autonomy, flexibility, connections, etc. Okay, and the last is I want to use the work as a lever to live a good life. And living a good life is about taking care of my health, taking care of my relationships, being a good parent, doing my self-care, doing my hobbies. Now, all these 4 elements play a part in actually the employee being happy. Okay, so in this, obviously, the last part is up to the employee. But even there's a concept of work-life balance, right? Which is that if you stress them and you kind of get them to give too much out of their thing, they're going to burn out. they're going to be unhappy. An unhappy employee then eventually comes back to the workplace. They are not going to deliver to the extent that they did. So all of these have long-term consequences. Sometimes we're very focused on the short term without understanding that these have, kind of bigger issues. And COVID, in a way, was actually a good wake-up call, because a lot of people are now, understanding, what the employee needs, and it's far more than, and see, and again, like, the whole workforce is going through a cycle, right? It's also evolving. It's getting to that place, at some point, even before COVID, a few years back also, this whole concept of working from home was impossible. Even in companies where there was technology and where everything was possible, they just simply said it's not possible, because they did not trust. They did not believe that, it can actually work. But then when they were forced to do it, actually it worked, and it worked quite decently also. Yes, some fallouts were there in terms of relationship connects and all of that. But otherwise, by and large, work got done. But the fact was that we never trusted employees to be able to do it, because we wanted control. As a management, the need for control was very high. So those are the elements that when you want to be a happier place, you have to also introspect about, how are we really making this human come alive in different ways and different, kind of pathways. What is it that we need to change, what they can change? If you do that, then I think we are, handling this at a much more strategic and at a broader level. The smaller things you can always fix. You can put one policy here, you can introduce one party there, one well-being benefit there. All of them will give you the pleasure element, a little bit of spike here. But unless you do all these 4 dimensions, the fact is there'll always be incompletions.
Yeah, Shriram. Yeah. Shriram, you tried to differentiate between the happiness and pleasure. And you also talked about the sense of purpose. Without purpose, there's no happiness. There's one survey by the OC Turner, and according to this survey, 1 out of 3 employees, you can say roughly 33% of the employees, they're not feeling, connected with the purpose. They're not feeling fulfilled. They're not feeling, happy with the organization. How do you see this statement?
So I've been doing a lot of work on purpose and, on myself and on in terms of trying to bring it into mainstream. And of course, it is a deep subject. It's not something which is to be trivialized. But the fact is this, that there are 2 real elements to it. One is the purpose is centered around bringing your uniqueness and your strengths to play. How do I play to my strengths? That is the core of it. And it is not really restricted to workplace. For every human being, there is a purpose, and that purpose is that everybody has some uniqueness. It could be cooking for work, for somebody who's at work, it could be coding, but it is about really getting to a specific strength, not a very generic one, but narrowing it down to a strength. And then the more and more I can play to my strength, the more purposeful I feel, because that is when I feel challenged. I feel that I have some meaning, because if I'm pushed to do something that I'm not good at, I'm just always going to be just enough. That's not going to make me truly happy, right? The engagement level will again dip. Now, fact is that, as you said, that not everybody has found this strength, or not everybody is playing to their strength. The segue to that is that it is not necessary that people have to find their purpose only at work, but they have to find their purpose in life. Purpose could be contribution. It could be to create something, which is outside of the workplace. And you use the workplace as something which supports the rest of your life. It's a reframe. Okay, but often what happens is people think that the purpose, you have 12 big dimensions in life. Okay, career is one of them. If you treat it that way, and then you look at life at a broader aspect, then you know that the purpose can lie in any of those dimensions. Right? Some of them, for somebody, it could be just to have the patience to deal with a disabled child. It could be as simple as that, right? So there are many dimensions to finding purpose and meaning in life. But one thing is that you have to make the work, you have to frame it in the right way. So there are only 2 things. One is you bring more of your strengths to the table at work. If you're not doing that, then figure out what your strengths are. Connect it. Sometimes we just don't make that connection. How is it helping me live my true purpose? How is it helping me in my life? The connection sometimes is missing. People don't see it. Sometimes you have to make them see it. Other times you have to see that their purpose is actually something outside of work, but the work is critical because it is supporting their sustenance. Without the work, they may not be able to live their purpose. And hence, work is important. And hence the engagement comes, because I'm not expecting everything. I'm not expecting my kind of fulfillment to come from work, but I understand that work is a critical support for me. If these things can be, kind of communicated, and if people realize this, then their engagement automatically improves. Disengagement happens when I feel demotivated. I feel that I am not doing what I'm meant to do, and I'm not challenged or not respected, and so on. Deeper, much more, kind of information over there, but I'll kind of stop here just to allow you to kind of respond.
Yeah, Gauri, now let me have another HR perspective. The employee experience, that is on the top priority for any HR leader in organizations right now. So how do you see that employee experience, and if you can also include the employee value proposition, how these two terms, have the importance when we talk about the employee happiness at the workplace?
All of these are interconnected, because when you talk about employee experience and you subtract happiness from there, the experience is going to be zero. When you talk about employee value proposition and you are not able to give them the basics, which don't even require money, the whole thing is going to fail. And as we know, the industry benchmark of wellness program that we quite regularly talk about, the benchmark is usage is around 2%. Right, so we know these initiatives really help, but how much they are being used? So when they are not being used to the fullest, but people are still wanting to bring in happiness, the answer lies in look within, because every organization is different. Every organization's purpose is different. Say, for example, for my organization, the purpose is to support businesses in terms of providing them loans, providing them money, and we ultimately contribute towards the trade finance of global economy also. So if I look at that bigger purpose and I work with that, I know each thing that I am doing is contributing towards global economy positively, global trade positively. But if I look at, so I remember when I was in my early stages of career, I used to do leave and attendance management, and I used to wonder, even if I don't do this, how is it going to change anything for the organization? This role is useless. And I used to think about myself that I'm just wasting my time, because even if leave and attendance is not managed to a certain extent, how is it going to change? And same feeling people have about HR operations also. We talk about employee engagement, value proposition, but think of a scenario wherein the salary is delayed by a few days, or there are errors in salary. Forget about all employee experience. If your salary is not on time, if there are errors in it, your experience is going to be spoiled. So even HR operations plays a critical role in overall company's objective, because employees are happy, they are giving in their 100% more than that, and that's how the goal of the organization is achieved. So everything here is interrelated: the proposition, the engagement, the happiness. Because without happiness, whether we called it or not, for so many years, it was always there. The element was always there. When you get up in the morning and you want to be at work, that is happiness which pulls us in. And every time we bring up a different element, different name for it, we call it engagement, we call it experience, now we are calling it happiness. But for me, when we practically look at things, it is all about, do I want to show up? Do I want to give more than 100%? And that will happen only if everything, whatever we discussed about, is connected, and the 8 dimensions of wellness that we talk about, or the wheel of life that we talk about, the family, the relationship, now even spirituality, the purpose, the social connect, the mental well-being, even financial well-being. We saw how many people were not able to manage during COVID. If they lost job, even within 3 months, they were broke. They were working at senior level. So managing those finances was also important. Everything, the physical wellness, and that's how lot many organizations are coming up with various other initiatives in terms of even volunteering. Because as a human being, I want to give back to society. Even that is one part of my wellness. So I think organizations need to have a bouquet of options, because we know the wellness initiatives that we are doing are being utilized the maximum to the 2%, the industry benchmark. So bouquet of things I should be able to pick up. I may be very good at financial management. I don't need financial wellness piece, but I may not be very good at spiritual piece. So I may need help there. Physical, I may need help there. And I think interconnecting them, we need to focus on the 8 dimensions of wellness. And that's how we would be able to have synergy between these things and give them the employee experience, the employee engagement, value proposition, and happiness. And overall, being human would be the best thing. And the 3H that I always say, the head, heart, and hand. So when you are connected with their heart, their head would understand the visioning, it will see, and finally the hand will get the work done. So yeah.
I think we tried to cover well the workplace happiness. Shriram, what are your final comments? What are your concluding remarks for boosting the employee happiness at the workplace?
See, I think just in terms of this, as I've kind of said, we need 2 hands to clap. The workplace happiness is about both pieces. The one piece is for employees to learn to become happier individuals. So that is, they cannot kind of say, expect the organization to completely make them happy. It's not going to happen. The second piece is for the organization to change, to become more human-centered, okay, so that they are able to leverage the employee to the best of their abilities. And that requires transformation, that requires culture change, that requires making humans come first. Eventually, if both these happen, your productivity, profitability, engagement, retention, all of that is going to really play out. I think this is the whole thing, but it requires, one is for, really looking at holistic well-being. We are looking at well-being in a very limited thing. I think we have to look at the whole dimension of human being, which is that I may have trouble at some point of time. I need support at that time. Okay, is the organization flexible enough to give me that support? If you give, then I become loyal, right? So the holistic well-being, focusing on emotions and feelings and becoming human first. I think in a broad, kind of thing, those would be my closing things for organizations and employees to really, look forward to from a happiness perspective.
And Gauri, your final comments, please.
Quickly, if I have to put, I would say that look for stressors at workplaces. It can be unrealistic pressure, it can be lack of time, work-life balance, it can be lack of clarity in job role. Even the small thing can be a big problem when people start working. They don't have tools available, they are not spoken with respectfully. Look at these things and you will really find what is it that is helping others or what is it that is not helping someone. Find out stressors and look for solutions for them would be my response to this.
So thank you, Shriram and Gauri, for joining the conversation and sharing wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much.